When did you say this was from?
October of 2005.
Oh my gosh.
This is a quarter pounder with cheese and a couple of fries. The fries are a couple months younger.
Yummy.
And most people know that fries last forever because they find them under their seat in their car.
Oh, that's so true.
Right? But here it is. It's all still there. Now the bun is, somebody poked at the bun. That's why there's a hole in the bun. But this is the quarter pounder
That
with
is
cheese.
insane.
Totally fine. Still in the original package.
I'm surprised it doesn't like smell.
No.
Hi. What if I told you that Americans being overweight is not our issue? It is the government and food industry's problem. Well, since many of us cannot seem to eat very healthy, we decided to investigate as to why this is so hard to do so. Why is it so difficult? The CDC released in 2018 that 73.6% of adults over the age of 20 are overweight or obese. That's a big number. Would you choose a salad over pizza? Most would say no. Well, this is because when we looked into this issue, we found that not only are people struggling to choose these healthier options, we found that they are having problems accessing these healthier options. There are a limited amount of these healthier options. We also found that the processing is not there and people don't really know about the processing. And the third thing we found was that the pricing of these healthier options are way more expensive than these cheaper options. And these cheaper options are these unhealthy options, and people don't understand how these unhealthy options affect your body. We will now discuss and analyze the problems with the food industry in America. During our investigation, we found that there are many causes to our problem. Starting out with number 1, we found that there is a lack of availability to these healthier choices in lower income areas. One area in specific is the desert. Along with this, we found that there are lobbying efforts from America's food industry to keep misinformative food labels away from us. This could be problematic. Moving on to number 2. We found that many Americans do not understand what their food consists of or what is in their food. Do you know? Because I sure don't know. Along with this, we also found that Americans do not understand normal portion size. Americans tend to eat more than anybody else in any other country. This is due to our food industry upping their portion sizes to make more money. We also found that goes along with this that many Americans do not understand the long-term effects of these bad choices and these unhealthy eating habits. These two causes are very big problems. But wait, there's more. Coming in at number 3, we found that healthcare is a huge part of America's infrastructure. Therefore, when one person is sick, one person is being paid to take care of them. In America, we have found that it is more about the money and less about the health of our American people. This is concerning to me. I don't know about you, but it is very concerning to me. Moving on to number 4. We found that Americans tend to focus more on the yummier tasting foods and the cheaper prices of the foods instead of looking at the ingredients in the foods they are eating and the quality of the foods that they choose to eat. I know I am a victim of this, and many people are also victims of this. But how can we help this?
Overview of the problem. What is the problem and how long has it existed? There is a general issue of most Americans not being able to access healthy food in America, and with the food industry mislabeling things to mislead customers into thinking they're being healthy. According to the National Institute of Medicine, food labels were never really properly mandated until 1994 and needed to be updated once again in 2016 to show accurate labeling. Nutrition labeling on the back of food packages is confusing and oftentimes inaccurate, and has been revised to create a better standard label so consumers can know the nutritional content of what they're purchasing. The FDA in 2002 noted that the serving sizes listed on many food labels were contributing to the problem of obesity, and companies have not come to a consensus with the FDA on how to standardize it to make portion sizes healthy for all foods.
So, what are the effects of the American diet?
The U.S. diet for most Americans consists of added sugars, sodium, saturated fats, and inadequate nutrition. According to a study done in 2019, only 2% of U.S. cropland is used to grow fruits and vegetables, while 60% of cropland is used for commodity crops that are used for highly processed food, animal feed, and ethanol. And looking to the CDC for data on why this matters is that 40% of adults are obese and 88 million Americans have prediabetes. The CDC stresses that being obese and consuming a diet with poor nutrition is linked to the increased risk of developing preventable disease, cardiovascular diseases, and raises the likelihood to develop 14 different types of cancers. The majority of Americans are unable to afford a consistently healthy diet, and 30 million Americans live more than 10 miles away from a grocery store, and the vast nature of this problem is shown in studies done by the USDA, academic journals like Fern, and the Center for Health. And this links average income Americans to a higher incidence of chronic illness. And in addition to these devastating health problems, often when people become overweight and perceive themselves as overweight, regardless of any cultural background, gender, and age, they have low self-esteem and are more likely to fall into patterns of dieting and disordered eating. A study from 2010 published in the International Journal of Eating Disorders examined this phenomena. What was remarkable was that this thinking was even shown in adolescents, and overall it's associated with increased self-esteem issues, body dysmorphia, anxiety, and depression. So now that we know the consequences of the American diet, how it affects many Americans, and what causes these problems, we can form some criteria for effective solutions. So, what are the effects of the American diet? The U.S. diet for most Americans consists of added sugars, sodium, saturated fats, and inadequate nutrition. According to a study done in 2019, only 2% of U.S. cropland is used to grow fruits and vegetables, while 60% of cropland is used for commodity crops that are used for highly processed food, animal feed, and ethanol. And looking to the CDC for data on why this matters is that 40% of adults are obese and 88 million Americans have prediabetes. The CDC stresses that being obese and consuming a diet with poor nutrition is linked to the increased risk of developing preventable disease, cardiovascular diseases, and raises the likelihood to develop 14 different types of cancers. The majority of Americans are unable to afford a consistently healthy diet, and 30 million Americans live more than 10 miles away from a grocery store, and the vast nature of this problem is shown in studies done by the USDA, academic journals like Fern, and the Center for Health. And this links average income Americans to a higher incidence of chronic illness. And in addition to these devastating health problems, often when people become overweight and perceive themselves as overweight, regardless of any cultural background, gender, and age, they have low self-esteem and are more likely to fall into patterns of dieting and disordered eating. A study from 2010 published in the International Journal of Eating Disorders examined this phenomena. What was remarkable was that this thinking was even shown in adolescents, and overall it's associated with increased self-esteem issues, body dysmorphia, anxiety, and depression. So now that we know the consequences of the American diet, how it affects many Americans, and what causes these problems, we can form some criteria for effective solutions. The first step is eliminating food. Healthy grocery store companies could be given subsidies and other government incentives to move into food deserts, to create accessibility for healthy eating in those Americans that live in that area. Prices of healthy foods may be subsidized, like how milk prices are artificially lowered by the government, and this will make nutritious foods affordable to all Americans. Another important thing to tackle is the immense issue of mislabeling and problematic marketing claims. Nutrition labels could be regulated to be 100% accurate with the nutritional content, and health food claims could be regulated to strict criteria to avoid misleading marketing. Another thing is that harmful food additives should be made illegal and set to the standards of the European Union. According to the Cornucopia Institute, food additives that are linked with cancer, along with harmful drugs that are added to farm animals, are banned in the EU. Yet here in the US, They're commonly consumed, and these food additives are used in almost all of our affordable foods. And now that we've discussed criteria, the next crucial step is to
Now
create
that we have
commerce.
talked about the true issues of American food, we are going to now give you a few solutions on how to fix the issues, and these are detrimental. So, the first issue we need to fix is the awareness, and we need to bring awareness to American food because it is a lot of people are facing hunger because they're having to choose between spending the money on food or spending on medicine or spending the money on medical care. Feeding America basically states this in good fashion. They also state that it is often difficult for seniors because it is like they're having to live on fixed incomes, such as choosing between the paying for food and healthcare, and yeah, they're having to choose between those. Our second solution is to alter the price, or not the price, but the grown food within our society. And to do that, they need to fix what is all being grown. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna tell you is that they are growing five items, or not necessarily just five, but there's a lot more. But the main ones is corn, soy, sugar, and wheat and potatoes. All of these except for soy are high starch food products that are making sugar levels very bad, and in their unprocessed forms is what's causing this. And this was all stated by Moore. Okay. For a third solution, we need to eliminate the food deserts and incomes to give lower incomes to societies with no choice to resort to highly processed foods. An alternative term is food swamp. It highlights the oversupply of affordability of unhealthy foods, and framing a strategy to increase healthy eating might be a price structure, might be able to change the price structure of making it where it's affordable to buy healthy food rather than it is unaffordable, rather than, yeah, unaffordable to make it healthy food. And yeah, making it affordable to buy healthy food rather than unhealthy food is important because it is the needs of the body. Government initiatives need to bring affordable healthy food to areas that are considered food deserts and food swamps. The government needs to make it where they are bringing a grocery store to a low income town or society and placing it in an abandoned building or abandoned store. That is a something that we need to do because making affordable food inside of a low income area is gonna make it easier to like it's gonna make it easier for a lot of people. And according to the Reinvestment Fund of the USC Center for Health, the initiative of Pennsylvania is successful at lowering in just inside sorry lowering the incidence of diet related to disease and lowering the obstacles of accessing healthy foods in communities.
After generating all of our solutions, our next important step is to evaluate each solution. Our first solution, which is bringing more awareness to the public about the corrupted American food industry, is a great solution that will cause an uproar if done so properly. This fact from the Boston Globe states that today non-communicable diseases makes up 70% of deaths and diet is implicated in most of them. Facts like this should be made more prevalent in today's society because if we all knew the harsh reality, it would create a domino effect that would draw the attention to the larger powers that have the resources to fix the American food industry. Like Franklin Roosevelt stated, the liberty of democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to the point where it becomes stronger than the Democratic Party itself. For change to occur, movement must be made by the people. The second solution is focusing on the needs for Americans to have a steady and reliable income to survive, one that the American food system depends on people not having. Furthermore, to get us anywhere near an effectively sustainable food system, one that prevents hunger, promotes health, and protects the environment, we must reduce income inequality and pay people what they deserve. That's the starting point for a much more fundamental transformation that recognizes food as a basic human right, and food systems as a means to protect stronger and more democratic societies. With the increase in income, people will be able to afford better quality foods and not have to rely on lower quality foods like fast food chains. While speaking of cost and money, our government can help the people of the U.S. One thing they can do is subsidize fruits, vegetables, and nuts, and sustainably produce meat. Furthermore, this quote from Spoon University states that these products need to be made more affordable for consumers. Taxpayers are already funding agriculture, so the money just needs to be redirected and redistributed. Again, more affordable and more higher quality foods will help the health of the American society.
Our third solution is similar to our second solution, and the idea that government funding, employment, and social class all go hand in hand. Food deserts need to be eliminated throughout our nation. Though the first real step to this solution is to fix the underlying effects of this issue like poverty and unemployment and inconsistent health food resources. There's a very huge chance that has so many different complicated aspects to it. However, there are smaller challenges or smaller changes that can be made that will still go a long way. One reason why people are not able to access healthy food is that they do not have the transportation to reach healthy grocery stores or their stores overpriced foods, because it is more difficult to receive, especially in rural and suburban areas. And according to a report prepared for Congress by the Economic Research Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, about 2.3 million people live more than 1 mile away from a supermarket and do not own a car, according to 2009. This statistic comes from a city, so think about people with transportation in rural areas. Along with no access to transportation, the access that people have to healthy food is way more expensive than people's choices about what to eat are severely limited by the options available to them and what they can afford. And many food deserts contain an overabundance of fast food chains selling cheap meat and dairy-based foods that are high in fat, sugar, and salt. Furthermore, this is an important solution to the overall correcting of the corrupt American food system, and it is a large project with a multitude of aspects, but if people take it one step at a time and start with smaller things like access to transportation, a lot of change will be made. Similar to our first solution, the lack of awareness of a healthy diet remains a serious problem. Furthermore, as America's diet has evolved, so too has its health declined. The result has been a stark increase in the prevalence of obesity among adults, which continues to grow because these individuals are at an increased risk of including but not limited to diabetes and cardiovascular disease. The issue remains among a strong concern of health professionals. If poor diet contributes so evidently to poor health, why do Americans not change their habits? Evidence suggests that the problem is rooted in the lack of public awareness of the constitution of a healthy diet, according to Shrestha of 2014. Along with the lack of awareness, the USDA food pyramid has been widely criticized by many scientists and nutritionists of the lack of backing actual research. According to the article, the official source, the USDA's food pyramid, has been criticized for not accurately reflecting the findings of years of scientific nutrition research. And on the other hand, the Harvard School of Business Public Health's 2008 Healthy Eating Pyramid contains helpful changes to relative to the USDA's pyramid, which are based on nutritional research. Those seeking to educate Americans should use Harvard's Food Guide as an example of what constitutes a healthy diet. Such a food guide, if implemented properly, would likely contribute to the decrease in the obesity-related diseases across and increase the overall health of Americans, according to Stress of 2014. And after our deliberation, we have determined that two important solutions go hand in hand. And those two solutions would be to bring awareness to the corrupt American food system and to include private funding along with government funding.
Now that we have laid out our solutions, it is important to discuss how we will implement them. The best way to bring awareness is through social media and other large platforms that a variety of people use. By using these platforms, it will cause a movement and bring attention to the government and other financial sources like private funding that will provide us a source for not only the monetary needs, but will implement the change that is so vital to the health of the American society. In conclusion, we hope this speech has opened your eyes to the troubles of the food industry and that it encourages you to research further into nutrition so that not only you can educate yourself, but hopefully you can relay the information to your friends and family. The food industry in America has slowly become a corrupted industry that pushes to keep processed, overportioned, unhealthy foods at the top of our food tier, which leads to a multitude of issues with society like obesity, health issues, and insecurities. According to our research, the two best solutions to this large issue are to bring awareness to the corrupt American food system and to include the private funding along with the government funding. Next time you contemplate eating fast food or junk food, think about the type of ingredients you're feeding your body.